Okay. Hey guys, please forgive the rambling nature of this video, but I haven't scripted any of it. It's entirely off the cuff, just popping off the dome. Um, I've been uh, kind of struggling with the next few episodes of the spectrum analysis series. I My next episode is going to be Lackadaisy, so it's not the has-been things that you have all been expecting. And as for when the has-been stuff is going to come out, quite frankly, the response that I have is I have no idea. Um, there's been a lot going on in my brain recently when it comes to has-been, and Helliver. Anything to do with Vivzy Pop. Um, I was talking to a friend of mine about the new Helliver episodes. I haven't watched them yet. I haven't watched the last two episodes. I'll get into that in a second. But I was talking to them about this whole situation, and they brought up that they don't watch Vivzy Pop, and they brought up a few allegations against Viv, which I've heard some of them before, and as I mentioned in my first Has Been episode, I kind of shrugged them off because they were ancient and she'd apologized for them and stuff like that. But my friend also brought up more that I didn't know about that um, were a bit more damning. Uh, you couldn't really imply sort of ignorance, I guess. Like, essentially, these allegations were that Viv supported extremely transphobic, fatphobic, non-binary, phobic, if that's a word, content creators in the past and drawn them fan art. And not only, like I said, you can't ascribe ignorance to them because she specifically says that these people are controversial in the post. Now, that's quite damning. And for the better part of this whole month, I've completely changed my view on Viv. Um, I started unfollowing all of the social medias. I've been warning people off of Hazbin and Helliver, telling them about this old stuff. Um, because looking into these content creators, yeah, they are extremely bad news. Recently, one of them released a video commenting on the Wendigoon drama that's been happening. You know, like this guy who tried to cancel Wendigoon for doing absolutely nothing, and Wendigoon responding by being an incredibly kind person and just generally making one of the worst call out posts ever. One of these controversial creators that Viv was a fan of released a video essay, or whatever you want to call it, covering this whole drama. And I've seen reactors that I follow reacting to this video, and as a result, I've not been following those reactors anymore. Because for certain, the creators that Viv made fan art of back in 2016 are bad news, and they still are to this day. Um, so looking into them, yeah, that's not the sort of person you want to follow. Um, However, today, after spiraling into hating Viv all of a sudden and recontextualizing everything I know about the series and about her social media, because her Instagram has basically been just her posting where she's been going using all the money that she's got from all these wonderful royalties. Um, and one of the main criticisms I have of Hazbin is that it's become incredibly commercialized. Amazon got involved, started making really expensive merch, and because Amazon got involved, it lowered the quality of the series because they rushed it out. This is basically the sum up of my opinion that I was going to put into the series end sum up video summary. Essentially, like knowing that knowing that Viv was completely, into these transphobic creators, and then seeing her put all these queer characters into her show and placing that holistically alongside all of this commercialization, I couldn't help but see the entire series as essentially using the gays as an aesthetic. Like, queer sells nowadays. People buy gay. You know what I mean? It's popular. It's a trend. Which is ironic for somebody who used to comment on trans trenders to make a series like that. Quote unquote. Trans trenders. It's not really a word, but you know what I mean. It seems like, however, now that I'm looking deeper into Viv's accusations, that she has actually addressed a lot of this. It's not just kind of fallen by the wayside and people have forgot about it like I thought. When she was talking about them being controversial at the time, she's mentioned that was mostly in regards to the fact that they spoke their minds about everything, not necessarily just the trans stuff. And she disagreed with a few things, but at the time she did agree with some of the transgender idea and some of the, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the allegations that have kind of tainted my opinion of her over the last month, I've looked into, and a lot of it has been debunked using facts that I can believe, and she has commented on them to fill in the gaps of the stuff that don't have hard evidence. And the problem I've come to is that I don't think I have a burden of proof either way. Like, I can't prove that she is still the person that she was in 2016. I can't prove that she did disagree with those transphobic views back in the day, but just didn't know about how far they went, like she says, because she's just saying words. Words don't matter, especially not on the internet, people can just say anything, not to mention she, at least somebody with her name on some board somewhere, has said things supporting these creators, and not just saying like I support them, but saying like opinions that align with these creators. For all I know, these were not exactly her, but with how all these things are, link rot has taken over, and some of these things have fallen out of common knowledge in the sense that like some of these Tumblr blogs have shut down, some of these websites have died, so we'll never fully know the full picture. And the parts that I'm still struggling with are the parts that we only have her word on. And being autistic, I can't suddenly change my views very easily. It was already incredibly hard for me to quite suddenly change my views to be very anti-Viv, and I've stayed that way for a whole month. And now I'm faced with details that a lot of what I was hating her for isn't as bad as I thought, and that she at least has addressed the other stuff. But that, like I said, it hasn't met a burden of proof either way. I can't prove that she is the person that I thought she was before, and I can't prove that she is the person that everyone else thinks that she is. I can't give an opinion either way. So I can't just switch off the tainted view I have of her, and I can't just fall right back into her arms either, I think that my opinion on Hazbin being a rushed commercialized product is still valid. I think my opinion on Helliver might need to be addressed because obviously I've seen that as well as kind of a gay aesthetic for the sake of commercialization, And I still think, even knowing what I know now, even knowing that, even though I have reason not to hate her as much, I still think that she is selling characters. That is her remit. That is her thing. I don't think that she is fully trying to craft a functional story. I don't think that she is fully trying to create something for creative benefit. I think she does get creative benefit, and I think that she is an artist, but I think she is now in a point of now in a situation where she is more about making commercialized characters, making character designs that can be sold, faces to put on a shirt, she I get the feeling that it's always been about the character designs. Clearly, it started off with character designs and references and artwork, and then it became a series. The story was kind of in the background for a lot of the history of the show and a lot of her creations. It's more about the characters, and those character interactions can make up a good story, but I still feel the interactions are second to the designs. And I still feel that about Hazbin and Helliver. The question is now whether or not the commercialization, whether or not the aesthetic is not purely aesthetic, or whether it is political, whether the aesthetic being sold is being sold to us because people lap up queerness nowadays. People buy gay, as I said. That's the thing I'm struggling with, alongside whether or not I believe her remarks about if she still agrees with or ever agreed with Blair White or Siobhan Head or any of these people that she used to follow. I can't speak to that right now. I am so in the throes of confusion and so stubborn because of autism that I can't get out of that hateful mindset, but I also don't want to stay in it anymore because my information has changed, So, this alongside the fact that I've been struggling creatively recently. You've probably noticed that I've not been putting up much, and what I have been putting up has been very short and completely unrelated to what I've normally been doing. I've come to a point where analysing Hazbin is incredibly difficult for me now. Just from a creative standpoint, I do not have the energy, the wherewithal, and the mindset to write about Hazbin. I have been thoroughly worn down by my critique of it, because the more I look into it, the more I analyse the reasons why those niggling little back of the head, something's not right, when I watch the show, the more I explore those feelings, the more I realise that they are deep-seated problems that will result in a very unsatisfying end product, if there is even an end product, if there is another series, if the show ever ends, or if it just sort of fades into obscurity. I don't see any of those options as a definitive right now. I see all of them as possible. I think the show could not be picked up for a second series. I think the show could be picked up for a second series and they don't end it, or they end it very unsatisfyingly, or there's a number of things that I can see, and I don't see any of the options as being good. Because the way the show is now, and the people who are running the show, is not conducive to the creation of a satisfying series, to the conclusion and fulfillment of a satisfying series. And I think that is quite frustrating to me, that because of corporate meddling, because of potentially bad actors in the very beginnings of the series creation itself, depending on if all the stuff is right or if it isn't, it's hard to want to give a damn anymore. I don't know if I feel the same about Helliver. I mentioned I'd get back into this. I've had a hell of a time with Helliver, if you'll give my pun there. I was going to watch this brand new episode of Helliver with my partner, but when we got together, we just got distracted with like 50 other things and didn't watch it. And then 4 days after we had parted ways, we broke up. So That kind of that put a bit of a strange, tainted view on Helliver. But that faded, and then there was this much more. It faded rather quickly, like within a few days. But then all of a sudden there was this even more strange, tainted view because the next episode came out, and I couldn't watch that one because I hadn't watched the last one, and I hadn't watched the last one because I was gonna, and then I didn't. But also, I just didn't want to. Like, as a side note, people who post about series online, spoiler your goddamned posts, please. Not everyone has seen it the moment it comes out. I don't want to be scrolling Twitter or Reddit and be constantly exposed to spoilers without any warning, without any blurring or anything like that. Like, even if it was blurred and I just clicked on it because I was curious, because it's just a blurred image and my brain is like, oh, what's behind this thing? Click. Like, at least I could blame myself for that, but no. Like, just be considerate for once. Not everyone has seen the things that you have seen. There is a world outside of you. But because I'm so frustrated about these spoilers, I felt the pressure to watch the show. But I haven't had the energy to watch the show. So I've been in this awful limbo period before finding out about this whole Vivzy Pop drama that I want to, but I don't want to, but I need to, but I was going to, but I didn't. And I still can't because I don't want to, because, like, it's such a soup of miasmic idiocy, really. And that was kind of the situation I was in with Helliver. So I can't even really begin to form an opinion on how it's going, where it's going. I've luckily avoided a good amount of spoilers. I know for a fact that everyone hates Blitz now for some reason, because literally everyone's talking about it, and I couldn't avoid that. Like, even Shark Robot sent me an email saying, join the Blitz hate party in order to try and sell me merch. It's been tough, really, creatively speaking. I don't have the energy, I don't have the impetus to write about Hazbin anymore. At least for now. I don't know how I feel about the series, and I certainly don't know how I feel about its creator. And as a result of that, I don't know how to feel about Helliver, and I don't know what's been going on with Helliver since the last time I watched. So I think what's best for me is to take a step back from Viv's content, figure out how I feel, find the energy if I want to, and then dive back into it. And until then, I will be posting spectrum analyses of other things. Like I said, Lackadaisy is possibly going to be next. I made the stupid decision of deciding that it would be important context for me to literally dub about 3 to 4 pages of the webcomic for the sake of lore. And making a comic dub is such a pain in the backside when it comes to editing. So it's probably going to be a while. Like I said, there's been a lot of creative miasma going around. I managed to get something creative out by writing and voice acting and editing together that Humanity short story, which I'm actually quite proud of, and that's energized me in a way which I'm very happy about. But I don't want you guys to be sat on your haunches expecting Helliver and Hazbin specifically. I don't want you guys to be sat around waiting, and as callous as it may sound, I don't want every single thing I post to be flooded with comments asking me where Hazbin is. You know? Like, I understand your fervour, I understand your enthusiasm, and I'm very thankful for your enthusiasm. The enthusiasm that you guys showed for my Hazbin content had given me this newfound energy, but all of that energy was sucked away by this drama. And unfortunately, whilst the fans are very energetic for Hazbin. I don't think Hazbin is very energetic for Hazbin these days, and that is honestly quite depressing, which is why I haven't been approaching the content before all of this drama kicked off. That's why it's been so long, between episodes. The last episode I did put out was one of the ones I hated the most. And even though I did mention at the end of that episode that I was quite looking forward to getting into the other two episodes of the series, that has completely drained out of me. And I don't necessarily think I was looking forward to looking into them because I had the energy to, but more so I felt I had to. And I was kind of saying, well, at least these ones are better. At least I like these ones more. But I don't think that energy was really there because I had just burnt myself out by having to analyze everything I hated about the series in one episode. And I think that's where we're at. Like, I can't approach the content, I can't approach the Vivzy Pop content for a long while until I figure myself out, figure her out, figure out how I feel about the series in general, and maybe catch up on the series as well, Helliver specifically. So what is going to be coming out is not going to be related to Hazbin, and I don't want you guys thinking that it will, waiting for it, asking me about it. And I know I'm probably going to get some pushback. I know I'm probably going to get some hate for this, because one of the other reasons why I've really fallen out with Hazbin and Helliver is the fan base. And I don't necessarily mean you guys, because you guys have been nothing but positive towards me. But you guys also kind of display the same problem that I have with the rest of the fan base, which is an obsessive fervor for the show, which is problematic, to the point where people are completely unable to listen to other opinions about it. I don't think you guys would experience that, but the passion you showed my content is passion that you had for Hazbin, and it comes from the same place. That energy is what fuels people to, give me a lot of positive sort of feedback, to create wonderful fan art and animations and side projects. But it's also the same energy that makes people really, really toxic. And that is quite prevalent in the fan base. Following the Reddit, you see a lot of it, and you see a lot of very problematic behavior. I mean, I keep bringing it up in the episodes, talking about the terrifying webcomics that I've seen. My husband is an adult baby, or the one about Charlie getting assaulted on the street. Like, it attracts a particular group of people with an obsessive personality, people with potential flaws in their worldview. And it results in echo chamber behavior, where you don't want to listen to any opinions other than the positive ones. But there's also the exact opposite behavior, where there are people out there who will vehemently hate everything to do with Helliver and Hazbin, to the point where they will not listen to anything positive about it. It's one of those heavily divisive things. And the fact that it is quite queer-centric is a source of a lot of that passion, as well as a lot of that hatred. And it's also tied in to the reasons why I don't know if I can trust its creator or not. It's a very contentious topic right now. Like, I don't exactly believe that queerness is contentious at all. I mean, I myself am queer. I'm pansexual. Like, the partner I was talking about who broke up with me recently, they were a man. Like, a trans man, might I say. So, if anybody is completely au fait with the whole queer thing, it's me. But, like, you got to admit, it's contentious. There are people who will vehemently hate anything vaguely gay, which is stupid, and there are people who will defend it without actually listening to genuine criticism about it, which is also stupid, but well-meaning. And I think this fan base has a lot of that. Not to mention the whole kid thing, like, the whole kids being into Hazbin thing. Parents letting their children watch Hazbin, parents letting their kids go and talk to the voice actors and animators at live shows and stuff like that. That's messed up. That kind of behavior, that kind of energy, that kind of everything is problematic to a degree. And the kind of behavior that I've seen from fandom in general is quite problematic. Like, I think many fandoms are this annoying. Like, I know nothing about the amazing digital circus. I like Gooseworks, but like, you got to admit the fan base is quite obnoxious. You probably are also sick of seeing it everywhere if you aren't a fan of it, like me. Because I don't know the first thing about it, but if I see another pair of floating dentures, I'm going to go mad. I imagine it's quite a good series. I've heard very good things about it, and I know Gooseworks does good stuff. So, you know, I just haven't watched it, and the fact it's constantly being pushed in my face doesn't make me want to watch it, and this is what I mean. This behavior doesn't exactly make the fan base look good, and it doesn't bring people into the fan base, you know. And it's the same with every fan base, you know. If people get emotionally invested in anything, they get rabid, especially on the internet, when they forget that there's a face behind the screen. And I think there's something about Hazbin, there's something about Vivzy Pop's characters, there's something about them that just attracts that kind of behavior. And it's been a problem for me to deal with. On top of all of the rest of the stuff that I've talked about in this series. I've got very close to bailing on the series recently because of everything. Well, I did bail on the series for the better part of a month, but like, even to the point of like throwing out all of my badges and shirts and stuff, I very nearly got there. I haven't, because I'm lazy, and because I was in the process of actively wearing a few of them because they were just, you know, lying around. And I don't actually have that many shirts that aren't Viv related, because I've bought a lot of them over the years. I only have 3 hoodies, and 2 of them are Hazbin related. Well, one's Helliver related. I have an Alistair one and a Fizz one. The other one's just plain green. This, like, if I were to completely get rid of Hazbin Helliver from my life, there would be a massive chunk missing, and that's one of the things that's really been weighing on me over the past few weeks, as I've been actively trying to push this thing out of my life. And now it's kind of, you know, it's come back into my life in this way. I've been rambling for nearly half an hour now. You get the point. The point I'm trying to make is that I'm going to be taking a step back from Hazbin for a lot of reasons. The fan base, my uncertainty about Viv, my uncertainty about the quality of the show, my lack of interest to actually cover the show, my lack of catching up with Helliver itself, and I just also want to make different things. Like, I've been kind of chafing against actually editing together the Lackadaisy video. It might not be the next thing I upload. It might be something I edit together piecemeal in the background whilst working on other things. Maybe I'll be writing and recording more things like the Humanity short story. Maybe I'll be uploading game content. I've been thinking about doing that, although, I don't know. Every time I upload, every time I record, rather, it doesn't really go the way I want to. Maybe more audiobook stuff, although I have also been kind of hesitating on that. I thought I recorded the entire last chapter of the War of the Worlds book 1. Like, I moved on to the rest of the chapters of, like, chapters 1, 2, and 3 of book 2, but I just seem to have lost that recording, so I'll have to re-record it, and that was a whole just mental drain. So I could be uploading that instead of the Lackadaisy video. I could be making other shorter or maybe less pain in the backside to edit spectrum analyses. I really want to cover the Matrix. I went to a film club in my local town, which focuses on queer topics. And one of the nights in the past, I don't know when, they show The Matrix from a trans perspective, considering that the Wachowski brothers are now the Wachowski sisters. And it was the first time I'd ever seen The Matrix, first of all. Like, I knew about the entire plot, and I'd seen essentially the whole movie in drips and drabs, but it was the first time I actually sat down and watched the whole thing. And looking at it through that lens has actually given me a couple of lenses to look at it through, from like a capitalist perspective and all this stuff. So there's a lot to talk about with The Matrix. I really want to do that. I want to do a spectrum analysis on the War of the Worlds, obviously, but I also kind of want to cover every version of the War of the Worlds and why it's never been done right. But that would involve watching versions of the War of the Worlds that I haven't and that I don't particularly like. So that's going to be an entirely different mental drain. Like I said, there's the Lackadaisy video on the back burner. I might sort of edit that in bits and pieces and then eventually get it out. I also kind of want to make a spectrum analysis covering elements of Metal Gear Solid. I don't want to cover the entire series because there's just too much. And I also haven't played most of the Metal Gear games because I like the story of Metal Gear, but I hate the gameplay. The only Metal Gear game that I can actually play and not feel like I'm dying internally is Metal Gear Solid V. 5, whichever one you want to call it. The Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes. I can deal with that. I can deal with that gameplay, so I prefer the story of Metal Gear. The point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of stuff that I could be releasing, but I don't want you to be expecting Hazbin, because it is a weight on my mind that I don't really know how to lift yet. And if it ever does lift, then maybe I'll come back to it. Or at least maybe I'll come back to Hazbin. Helliver, rather. Just don't be waiting around for me to cover this. Don't post on every single thing I upload, hey, where's the new Hazbin episode, because it's not coming. Not for a long while, if it comes at all, basically. There's a lot of other stuff that I want to cover, and I just kind of want to free my mind for a while. I want to get out of this rut. I want to talk about the stuff I actually want to talk about, because that was the entire point of spectrum analysis. When Hazbin first started, I had this massive energy to actually create. I had this energy to talk about the stuff that I found interesting about it. And then the second half of the series came out, and all of that energy began to drain as I analysed everything and realised, and then that made me retroactively look at the first few episodes and think, well, this and this and this. But the point of spectrum analysis, the reason it's named spectrum analysis, is I want to talk about my autistic hyperfixations. I want to talk about stuff that I can talk about at length. Maybe there's going to be some Transformers content in the future. Maybe I'm going to cover stuff that isn't like media-based, like paleontology or dinosaur stuff. Science and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know. I like adaptations of things. One of the things I specialised in at uni when I was doing my film degree was book adaptations. I mean, War of the Worlds is the big one. But recently I've been reading The Red Dragon, and the beginning of the Red Dragon book is literally like 3 episodes before the end of the Hannibal series that's based on it. So it's quite interesting the way that they've adapted that. And Hannibal's another one that I've been wanting to talk about, simply because of the queer adaptation, the queer angle, but also just the character interactions, the beautiful cinematography. Like, there's a lot to talk about with Hannibal. There's a lot of subtlety, there's a lot of prowess in its character acting. I could talk about a lot of different adaptational things, a lot of different books that I have laying around that I haven't actually read yet, but that I could start to read and make a spectrum analysis on when talking about their filmic adaptations. There's a lot of stuff that I fixate on, and my fixation on Hazbin recently has not been positive. And that's what I want the series to be. I don't want spectrum analysis to be purely positive, but I want it to be about creative energy. I want it to be about autistic energy. I want it to be about the stuff that makes me talk fast and forget sentence structure because I'm trying to get this information out as quickly as possible. That is spectrum analysis. That is rambling about a hyperfixation. The sort of talking where you think 3 words ahead accidentally and you mumble your words together accidentally and you trip over yourself and you forget to breathe and stuff like that. That is what I want from spectrum analysis. That is what it was when it first started out and what I want to go back to. And Hazbin isn't filling that niche, despite all of... not despite. Removed from all of the drama, removed from all of the personal bias, that is just... it's not doing it for me anymore, is the point. So I'm going to put that in the distance for now. And I just want you guys to, not expect it. I don't want you guys to be hanging around waiting for me to post something about it. And I can't give you a guarantee on what's going to come next, frankly. But I should stop because I'm approaching 40 minutes now after I said that it's nearly been 30 minutes. The point is what I've said, and I've said the point is probably 50 times. You guys are honestly amazing. I'm genuinely surprised that you've been stuck around this long, and I really, really, really genuinely hope that you'll stick around despite the lack of Hazbin content, because it's not coming for a while, if it's coming at all. And I really hope that doesn't make half of you unsubscribe and disappear off somewhere and throw vitriol at me in the comments. I really hope you stick around for what's to come, because I hope, beyond hope, that whatever comes next is going to be much more energizing for me, and hopefully for you. So I really do hope you stick around for that. And whatever comes next, whatever I decide, I'll see you then, I suppose.